What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. Sam here with Gab. Still missing Maui,
Yep.
but still doing this podcast here. Gab, say hello.
Hello. It's another 4-game day. Good God. When is this gonna end, UAAP?
It's never
When?
gonna end. It's never gonna end. Every Wednesday na ata for game days, diba? So, uh, we'll see. So, we're still missing Maui, still in Japan. So, hoping na Maui is enjoying his trip. I know a lot of our subscribers or listeners are waiting for Maui to come back. Pero soon, I think by this weekend, I think he will
Just
be
so
able
you
to.
guys know, he's still watching the games despite being
Yeah.
on vacation. Ganon siya ka-addict.
Pero nawawala-wala yung internet. So, nagte-text siya sa amin minsan, nagme-message, "Uy, ano na score? Hindi ko mapanood." So, we have to text him updates. Pero yes, he is trying to keep tabs. Okay, it's a 4-game day as Gab mentioned, but what we're going to do today is we're going to ask a few burning questions related to the games today and maybe to some of the standings of teams or overall performance for the season so far. Let's get things started. First burning question, something that we talked about a lot last season because a lot of coaches were involved here. First question, is there any coach on the hot seat this season or as of right now, Cap? Coach on the hot
Oh,
seat. So last season, marami. This season, what
yes.
are your thoughts?
When this question was asked and was put on our chat, I immediately thought of two coaches. One, Coach Jackson Tiago of UE, and second, Coach Denok Miranda of FEAU. Now, yung people might be asking, huh? Why those two? They're in contention. They still are in contention for the Final Four. UST has one win this season. Why isn't Pido on the hot seat? Well, I didn't count Pido because as we've detailed in our previous episodes, and I think in our episode you right after season 85, Pido is kind of a legendary figure in UST. Uh, he's won the only championship in this millennium for this school. He's a former beloved player and he's beloved by the community. They love Pido. I think they're gonna give Pido a pass for having a very sorrowful season. And honestly, it's not his fault as well. Well, it's partly his fault, but it's not completely his fault that his team lacks a lot of talent. Their FSA, Adama Faye, left school. He's back in Senegal. So I'm giving Pido a pass. I don't think he's on the hot seat. I don't think the UST community is blaming him for. Well, it's completely blaming him for a very disappointing season. But I am gonna go with Denok Miranda and Coach Jackson Tiago. Let's go first to Coach Denok Miranda and why I think he's on the hot seat. And I've said this before, even in the first round, he has not dramatically changed how FEU has played. And that for me is enough to put him on the hot seat. This is exactly the same team as last year. Nearly, actually, almost the same team as last year. They just replaced Pachuente with Mo Fati. They replaced their backup big from Sandagon to Ona. But essentially, this is it. This was their lineup from season 85. And you didn't win in season 85. You started 0-5. You didn't make the Final Four. The style of repeated drive and kick, screen and roll did not work for Coach Olsen last season. So why is Coach Denok running the exact same thing? Yes, they pulled out 2 amazing wins against Ateneo. Much to our dismay, Sammy. Ang sakit ng mga talong yun. They have 3 wins. 2 of them came against Ateneo.
3 wins. 2 of them sa Ateneo. 2/3 ng panalo nila binigay ng Ateneo.
Yep. So, yun. for me, that's enough to make him sit on that hot seat. It's been very disappointing for FEU. They lost to UST. They gave UST their one win. Their offense, as as emphasized by the game earlier, was horrific. Horrific. They couldn't score at all. They turned the ball over a lot. And it was just so disappointing the whole season to watch FEU. It's like uh, you're beating a dead horse, or come on, man. This did not work last year. Well, why are you doing it again this year? You're spamming your guards. You're trying as much as possible for drive and kick to rely on Cyrus Torres and to an extent Joric Bautista to shoot you out of ball games. It just doesn't work with this type of lineup. I wanted more creativity for the offense. Defensively, I have no complaints from them. They are very solid defensively. Just that on offense, they really struggle. Cholo Anunuevo, again, was injured, but when he was playing, he was exactly the same player as last year. And I think a lot of FU fans are questioning this. Why did you decide to line up Mo Fati? Like, coach, come on. What did you see in him? Is that because he's 7 feet tall? That's all? I mean, I would think you have other foreign student athletes, who are more capable probably than Mo Fati. I know he's a one and done. Maybe he wanted to give him 1 year of being in the UAAP, but come on, this was that was very disappointing. That Mo Fati was the one pick. And second, for Coach Jackson Thiago, I think, Sam, we've discussed this also in the past. There have been numerous off-court issues with Coach Jack, none of which were confirmed, but they were alleged. And some of his players did cite some instances wherein Coach Jack kind of promoted a toxic culture in UE. And I think the amount of players who left, and not just graduated, but left the program from season 85 are a testament to maybe something is wrong within that UE locker room or in that UE program. Yes, Coach Jack is a good basketball coach. I'm not going to deny that. He has made the most out of his lineups. Even this year, I mean, they're very competitive. They won, I think they were 2-1 to start, right, Sammy? If I'm remembering correctly, they were 2-1 to start. They looked great. Modern basketball, a lot of threes. You're putting the offense in the hands of Ray Remogat. Yes, Coach Jack has done a marvelous job with the on-court product, but it's the off-court issues that have kind of hampered him. And again, despite the brilliance of the on-court product, they have not made the Final Four. They have not produced a postseason yet for UE. So if I were UE, I'd be thinking of completely overhauling that program. Maybe get some new blood in there. Maybe one of their assistant coaches, Coach Don Aliado, can take over. But I don't know, man. It just seems the issues are compounding and it's not leading to a lot of success for the UE basketball team. So those are my two. You could say Coach Tab also has disappointed, but I mean, he's a 4-time champion coach and has made the finals for 6 straight seasons. And I think he's garnered the respect of the Ateneo community. So I don't think he's on the hot seat. I mean, I don't think Ateneo would go as far as to bring Coach Tab in jeopardy and fire Coach Tab. I mean, he's done a marvelous job in his now 7th season there. So yeah, those two coaches, Coach Jack and Coach Denok, I think are on the hot seat and I think their respective schools are really weighing heavily on whether to keep them as coaches for season 87. Sammy.
Yeah, okay. So if we're talking about coach on the hot seat, as in someone that is going to get fired, makes sense. I agree with the I think yung argument mo makes sense for for UE and FEU. I also agree that I don't think, yung obvious answer should be Coach Pido because they are the bottom team. They only have one win so far in this season. But as you said, Coach Pido is loved in UST. Also, uh, he was supposedly picked by the SMC group. So I think SMC will have will give him more time to build this team up. They are also expecting to have better talent or better players next season with just the likes of Fortsky coming in. Plus, Coach Baldavid just left. He just left after one season. So I don't think it would look good for UST if Coach Pido would also leave or get fired after one season. So I think for Coach Pido, he's safe. Uh for between FEU and UE, I think si Coach Denok Miranda has a higher chance of getting fired. Um, but I do want to note that you guys mentioned this, I think, in an article before that they FEU they're run like a family, so they don't really like to fire people. Like Coach Olsen Rosella stepped down. He wasn't really fired, so um, maybe just because of that, Coach Denok Miranda won't get fired. Also, I know he's coaching the juniors team or he's very involved in the juniors team.
He's an
And
assistant
tama
coach.
ba?
Ah. Si
Assistant coach siya.
Si Alan Albano, his assistant coach is
Yon.
the coach of the juniors team.
Correct. Tama ka dyan. So he is involved in the juniors division also. So we know that the FEU juniors team is very, very good. So I think they would like to have that continuity from the juniors to the seniors. Plus, anak niya nandun. So I'm thinking lang, maybe those are some of the reasons that they would keep Coach Denok Miranda. For UE, I agree with you. We've talked about the off-court issues. Inisip ko lang for me, well, at least ako, I'm not sure about the UE community. I didn't really expect much from UE this season. So the fact that they're in contention again, they're fighting for the Final Four spot, they gave UP a fight. I think I would give Coach Jack some leeway with that. But, so I would pick FEU, Coach Denok, more than Coach Jack. Though, if you ask me, sino ang coach na pinaka nasa hot seat, not getting fired, but a coach that's being questioned a lot, maybe these days, I think it has to be Coach Tab. Just because, again, he's not gonna get fired anytime soon. Impossible, like, unless he decides to step down. Knock on wood for Ateneo, but he's not gonna get fired anytime soon. You mentioned it already, Gab. Multi-titled coach. He has really changed the program in Ateneo. But definitely this season has been disappointing so far. Obviously, we don't know the end result, but
No question. No question. Yes, it has been disappointing so far.
yes. So this season has been very disappointing so far. And, if Coach Bido, you mentioned, Coach Bido doesn't deserve all the blame, but he should get some of the blame. I think it's the same with Coach Tab. He doesn't deserve to get all the blame, but he should get some of the blame for this performance. And si Coach Tab kasi has set such a high standard for Ateneo. Remember that very first year that he came in, the top 6, top 5 players left, but they made it to the finals. So yung mga tao, kahit na nawala yung buong starting 5 ng Ateneo this season, they still expect Ateneo to make it to the Final Four at least and make it to the finals. But it's not looking that good right now. So I would say that's the reason why I would put Coach Tab in the hot seat. But hindi naman to the point that he would get fired. I guess I would also say we have to add to that, obviously, like, the issues prior to the season, maybe like Francis Lopez suddenly leaving for UP. We don't know the whole story. Also, maybe the mistake of not getting another big man for the team to line up, knowing na he would only have Obasa and Giochu. I think he should have put in another big. But yun, for me, it's been a very challenging season for Coach Tab. That's what I would say. Next question. Let's be more positive this time. Most impressive breakout season so far for any player.
For the most impressive breakout season so far. And this caught me off guard because I was not high on him, but Maui was. Jake Figaroa of NU has to be a very pleasant breakout player for season 86. When he came to NU in season 84, he was playing alongside big wings such as Malonzo, Tibayan, Manansala, I forgot all the other wings that they had. John Lloyd Clemente. And he had a very limited offensive game. He couldn't shoot it well, couldn't dribble well. Well, this is the one transition that we always talk about, Sam. No? That transition from being a big man in high school, suddenly playing on the perimeter and being a wing on the college level. Little, if any players can do this. Perhaps the most successful in recent memory has been Mike Nieto. He's been probably the only successful player in the 2010s who played. Remember, he was big Mike Nieto in high school, but he had to play guard and wing in college. So I felt that transition was difficult for Jake Figaroa, both in season 84 and 85. But this season, my God, his offensive bag has expanded. Not only has his handles been better, he has a lot of dribble drive. His footwork is now better. His jab steps. He used to travel a lot in season 84 and 85. Now his jab steps and first steps are quicker and more polished. He has a better outside shot now. Now the percentages don't support it, but he can knock them down. As you saw in the Ateneo game, my goodness, he shot that last 3-point shot to knock Ateneo out. That was him. So he can shoot it now. And defensively, he's a monster. He's just a monster defensively. Siguro hindi lang napapansin dahil ang dami mga defensive players ng NU, but I think he's the best among those defensive players. He can guard 1 through 4, I think. Yung 5, not so much, but 1 through 4, he can guard all of them. He's quick on his feet. He's strong. Again, no, being a big man in high school, he has that upper body. He has that strength. He's strong. He doesn't get pushed over a lot. Even in that Ateneo game and even in the game earlier, the guys like James Tempra, they couldn't outmuscle him inside. He could keep up with the quicker guards of FEU a while ago if you watched that game, and he rebounds the hell out of the ball. Again, that big man instinct to rebound the ball. So, the leap in Jake Figaroa has coincided with the leap in the whole NU team. And we talked about this as well. Can they step into that contender role? Can they become a top 2 team and challenge the likes of UP? And so far, they're tied for first now. And that's the last game on their schedule against UP. So we'll see. But they're tied for first. And a big reason why they're playing so well is Jake Figaroa. Sam?
I love the Jake Figaroa pick. Actually, I had him as one of the guys on top of my list. You hit it on the nail. Undersized big siya, diba? And it's very hard for big men in high school to transition to college. But he's done it really, really well. I think when he first came in, even last season, Gab, diba? Si Malonzo and Manansala looked better. Or at least were more consistent than Jake Figaroa, but he has really outshined or outperformed those two guys this season. I just wanted to share lang din. I think ang ganda nung comparison mo, Gab, to Mike Nieto. They were both big men in high school, both MVPs during their time. And I think sila yung dalawang best case scenario mo for a big man that transitioned into a wing role nung college sila. Another guy that I remember kasi UP to, naging classmate ko to actually. Another MVP from Adamson, Mark Ruena. I don't know if you remember him, but
oh yeah. Okay.
he played for UP, was also like a 6'4", 6'5" big man in high school, MVP siya. So medyo may hype sa kanya when he moved to UP nung college. Didn't really perform that well, but he also tried to transition into like the wing position. But I think dun sa mga yun, you know, Big Mike was very crucial to Ateneo, but he was still more of a role player. Itong si Figaroa, he's really a star now for NU, I would say. So, really...
He is. I think he's their... You could make an argument he's their best player. Maybe Kiki and Baclaan will have a say in that, but I think he's been the best player so far this season for NU. And in my previous Not Just Stats MVP rankings, I had him there at number 3. So that's how highly I think of him. Especially on the defensive end. Very... Kung mapanood mo na siya ng defense, sobrang halimaw niya. Anyway, you were saying.
No, I was gonna say, I think he is the best player because he's the most efficient and consistent. I mean, Kian Baclaan can explode. I wouldn't be surprised kung sumabog siya for, let's say, 30 points. Pero, sometimes, meron din siyang down moments. But with Jake Figaroa, like, you can expect him to defend, you can expect him to rebound, to hustle, and you can expect him to take those easy shots, diba? And yun nga, he has an improved shooting touch then, so he's really improved his game. By the way, I just want to mention si Jake Figaroa kasi he was interviewed daw kanina, tapos sabi niya, lahat daw ng mga tira niya chamba. I think he was like 6 of 6 or 6 of 7 from the field today.
6 of 6? Niya,
puro chamba.
Yung last miss niya, Sam, tinatry niya ibigay kay Omar Jan. Yeah, he was trying to give it to Omar Jan for a post-up. Tapos ayaw itira ni Omar Jan, tapos binabalik lang sa kanya. And with 1 second left, he had to put it up. Tapos yun lang yung only miss niya.
Bad trip naman to si Omar Jan, no? Di ba niya alam yun? Dapat tinira na lang ni Omar Jan. But yeah, I think Jake Figaroa definitely is a good pick. And I know, Gab, you mentioned si Maui was really high on him sa preseason. So I also want to mention another player. This time, a player that you were high on last season pa lang. I have to mention Joric Bautista. He has really stepped out for FEU. And this guy, parang, ewan ko kung paano niya nagagawa. Ang dami niyang like mga impossible shots na tira sa tres na out of nowhere, pasok pa rin.
Mga like, boarding niya, no?
Mga boarding niya nung game against UE. You know, I mentioned in the previous episode, he almost Reggie Millered the team back to win nung game against UE. Kanina, he also had like a double pump 3-point shot na desperation shot, then benga, boarding, pasok. I just love Joric Bautista. I don't know where FEU would be without him, actually. I mean, they're not good, but
it kind of helped also na na-injure si Royce Alforque. So, a lot of minutes were given to him.
Joric Bautista I've seen him save a lot of possessions for FEU where he will just throw up that ball and it will just go in. So, not as flashy or as, you know, as much of a breakout as Jake Figaroa, but to be honest, sa akin, I didn't expect him to be this good. But you, Gab, I remember you were really high on him. So I just wanted to point that out.
I wasn't really high. I did say at the end of season 85 that I think that more minutes would be given to Joric Bautista in season 86 because I think he has better skills than their other guards. You namely sila Royce Alforque, sila Patrick Sleet. you Patrick sees is a slasher, but it's not an efficient outside shooter. This guy well, as you've seen now in season 86, he has a 3-point shot. He's very efficient at it. He has a great handle. He can drive to the basket, and even from mid-range, he can pull up. So he has a more complete game than the other guards, which I saw last season, and despite the limited minutes that were being given to him. So I'm happy. I kind of called it. I didn't completely call it, but I kind of called it. Na sabi ko, watch out for this guy. I think he can surprise a lot of people in season 86, and he did. I agree with you, Sam. He's been a pleasant surprise for FEU, despite their offense looking horrible. It's a pleasure to watch Jorek Bautista.
Okay, next question. By the way, shout out to Ray Mogat. I mean, we didn't mention him as most impressive breakout season so far, pero dude scored like 35 points the other day. So, needs to be mentioned. Kasi baka yung mga Remo Goat stans, which we are, by the way. Remo Goat stans kami. Mag-react or magalit. So, shout out to Remo Goat. Next question. Kinda similar to impressive breakout. Let's talk about today's games. Magic Hugot of the Day. Meron ka bang Magic Hugot of the Day? Na nagulat ka. Impressive tong guy na to. Out of nowhere, naglaro to. Go, Gab.
Well, I think the obvious answer is gonna be from Ateneo. Rafi Celis. I think Coach Tab, it's either you follow Maui on Twitter using your burner account, or you watch Boleros and saw Maui's tweet, and I was surprised watching that game, like, oh, Rafi Celis, second guy off the bench, subbing for Sean Kiteves. I'm like, whoa, okay. I thought it was only gonna be a first quarter thing, like it's gonna be inserted into the first quarter. He was in the rotation for the entire game. So that was a pretty surprise. And his stats were amazing. He had 8 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and was a plus 11. What? Oh my. And he had a crucial layup in the fourth quarter when USD was making their comeback. Remember that he attacked from the baseline, then had a layup in front over a contest by Christian Manaytay. And that kind of yung pamatay sunog sa USD run. But if there's a magic hugot for the day, it had to be Rafi Celis. Again, it just goes to show that one of the criticisms by and you said yung Coach Tab was on the hot seat. So one of the criticisms by Coach Tab was that there are players on his bench that a lot of people think should be getting more minutes. And one of them, I think, is Rafi Celis. Sam, you were impressed by him in the offseason. You said, man, this kid has got skills. He's a long guard. He can dribble. He can shoot. He can drive to the basket. And what surprised me earlier is his nose for the ball. 11 rebounds, 9 of them offensive. The guy was looking like Josh Hart, just coming out from the perimeter and grabbing offensive rebounds. Those out of position rebounds were big earlier for Ateneo. I think it spoiled a lot of fast break opportunities for UST, and it gave Ateneo yung second chance points. Not a lot were converted by Ateneo, but it gave Ateneo a second chance points. Mga pamatay sunog din yung mga offensive rebounds na yun eh. Because you could easily get a fast break, run the offense, and get open three for UST. But no, yung Rafi Celis got a lot of offensive rebounds. And, as a as a shooting guard, I know Coach Tab loves Sean Kiteves and he's very important to the team defensively. But offensively, we talked about this. He's a liability. I mean, I think Sean's only 3-point shot earlier was an air ball that was way off. He missed a ton of layups, especially in the fourth quarter. And, we talked about this in the preseason as well. Sean Kiteves is not the typical Coach Tab shooting guard. if you look at Coach Tab's history in Ateneo, his shooting guards have always been good defensive players, but are shooters. Aton Asistio, Adrian Wong, BJ Andrade. They've all been defensive players who can shoot. Sean Kiteve is very different. He's a good defensive player, but he's such a liability in offense. And guys like LeBron Nieto or Josh Nieto, Rafi Celes, I think, just as Maui said, deserve a bit of a look. And Rafi Celes earlier proved that I think he has a higher ceiling than what Sean Kiteves could be, as well as LeBron Nieto. I think they have higher ceilings than Sean. Coach Tab, if ever they want to make it to the Final Four and maybe surprise, would be wise to funnel a little bit more minutes to those two guys. I don't think you're gonna give up that much defensively, but when you replace Sean Kiteves with LeBron Nieto or Rafi Celes, but I think you're gonna gain a lot on the offensive end. Actually, kanina nga si Celes, I thought had a ton of chances to shoot but didn't take them. Again, that's a kind of confidence and yeah, it was very tentative. And Coach Tab was telling him from the sideline, shoot it, or you're supposed to take that shot. Don't pass it off. So you can see the skill of this guy, Rafi Celes, and I was pretty happy that he got his minutes. I think he should get more minutes, although it's pretty late in the season. But I think a lot more minutes, a little kahit contest to be given to Rafi Celes would be a positive for Ateneo. Sammy?
Yeah, I had Rafi Celes, probably the most surprising player that performed well today. You mentioned the shooting guards, no? I think the one shooting guard that maybe you forgot, but really, for me, yun dapat ang goal ni Rafi Celes is si Mamu. Same kind of player, like very long, freakishly athletic. I love Mamu. And he also didn't have like a good 3-point shot at the start or a good handle nung umpisa, but he developed that. So for me, if I'm Rafi Celes, that's sort of like the game that I'm going to pattern myself after. Definitely deserves more playing time along with Josh Nieto. Any other player, Gab, na honorable mention for you na magic hugot?
Well, you could actually pick anyone from LaSalle in the game earlier, but I'm gonna go with JC Makalalag. This, I think, was the first game that you saw a complete LaSalle team effort to win. KQ only had 12 points? Oh, he had a double-double, but it wasn't the best
relatively
KQ
quiet
game.
Night.
And also for Evan Nelly, it was relatively a quiet night. 13 players played for LaSalle, 12 scored. I think that's how big their team effort was, how much they distributed the ball. In the first half, their leading scorer was JC Makalalag with 8 points, knocking down threes, making plays, dropping off to Bright Noanco or to Mike Phillips for an easy layup. And he was also pretty good defensively. We didn't talk about this, but in their last game against UP, he was guarding. He was guarding Francis Lopez.
Babad siya nung UP game.
Yep.
He didn't score ata, pero nababad siya. He was playing defensively. Good defensively. Go ahead, Gab.
Yeah. So, that's a magic hugot. Well, it's only for this game, but I think he's been a magic hugot since, I would say, the NU game for Coach Topex. And he's played really well. And I think there's a guy we cut in our luck, maybe or not. So, kudos to you, JC Makalalag, for proving us wrong. I think we did cut him. Yeah, because we had Ryle Melencio as one of our last men in there. So, but I love what he brings defensively. He knocked down his shots a while ago against Adamson, which were big, but he doesn't do it as often. But I think yung defensively is where he is most valuable for Coach Topex. And I said you can pick any of the LaSalle bench players. A lot of the LaSalle bench players you contributed earlier. BJ David, CJ Austria. So it was a total team effort. Very different from how we saw LaSalle in the early part of the season, where it was a KQ, yung Evanele show. So for me, those LaSalle bench players played really well. In the absence of Janelle Policarpio, I forgot to say that. We did not have a Janelle Policarpio in this game a while ago for Adamson. And the fact that LaSalle was not able to get that running game going, you know, it was kind of played at Adamson's pace a while ago. It was a low-scoring game. It was only in the 60s. I thought that favored Adamson, but they did well with finding open shooters, and those open shooters, you knocking down. Again, to JC Macalalag, UVJ David, yung CJ Austria, they knocked down their shots, and that helped them get the win. It's their 5th straight win. LaSalle, the hottest team in the league. And our friend Apo is now throwing out trash talk to us. Grabe siya. Dati, tahimik lang yun eh. Walang sinasabi. Talo LaSalle. Ngayon, nag-comment na ng trash talk. Ano nga ka, Apo, ha?
Yeah. But, so, it's a well-deserved trash talk naman. Well-deserved. They have the hottest team. But I think even the other commenters natin in the previous podcast, because we talked about Policarpio being an X factor, a lot of the people in the comment section said, sablay yan because LaSalle is just so deep, next man up mentality. And that's what we've seen so far. Like, in every LaSalle game, there's always like a magic hugot. Like, we were talking about earlier in the season, Joaquin Manuel had his moments. Raven Cortez, Policarpio, now Macalalag. Yun yung maganda sa LaSalle, no? Yung depth nila and then next man up mentality. So I think a lot of people commented that in the previous episode. So that just goes to show how deep they are. Next question. Let's end it with this question. 4 questions for 4 games. Player comeback you're rooting for. So ito, not necessarily a player that's injured, you're rooting for him to come back. Maybe, let's say, a Jerome Lastimosa. Probably not coming back anytime soon. But any player na maybe disappointing or hasn't played as much as you expected, but you're rooting for them to have sort of a comeback for the remainder of the season.
Allow me to play the homework card, good sir. And I'm going to go with 2 players, Kai Balungay and Chris Kuhn for the Ateneo Blue Eagles.
Wow. The 2 superstars. The 2 stars.
Superstars? Anong stars? Ulul. No way. They've been bust. They've been bust so far this season. Kai Balungay was an MVP favorite to start the season. In the preseason, we call him the King Eagle. He's nowhere near that. Chris Kuhn, we called, he was an MVP candidate in my last rankings. We said that he's the guy you go to. And they have not delivered at all. In the past 3 losses for Ateneo, they were lucky to survive UST a while ago. I thought that they were lucky. They played horribly in the 3rd quarter. Again. And a lot of it has to do with Kai Balungay and Chris Kuhn just not trying to take over. And this has been the story of Ateneo, especially in the 2nd round. Chris Kuhn and Kai Balungay, let me just talk to you guys. If you guys are listening, you probably not, but let me just talk to you guys. Guys, you need to have more balls and take over games. I don't care. Don't care if you make mistakes. Get a turnover, a missed shot, an air ball. I don't care. You can't just be passive on the offensive end. You can't just allow teams to stand pat on defense and let's look at you pass the ball on the perimeter. That's what happened a while ago in the 3rd quarter against UST. UST played the zone the entire 2nd half. And Ateneo were just passing the ball around. No one was trying to attack the zone. No one was trying to break down the zone and, kick out, drive, kick. You have to probe the zone to break it. You can't just pass around. That's not gonna happen. And even when Chris Kuhn was out there, he chose to pass the ball so many times. And I thought, man, you have a one-on-one there. Attack. If the zone collapses, kick it out, then drive and kick. Allow the zone to collapse, and then you can break it. I've been very disappointed with Chris Kuhn since his big game against UP in the first round. I thought that was by far his best game. His best game was against UP in the first round, but it's been all downhill. And I'm rooting for him to have a big second half of the second round. There are 3 games left. Three games left. Hopefully he shows a bit more balls, man. Chris Kuhn. Same with Kai Balungay. Bro, not just you can't play UST every game. You can't dominate the boards every game with just your length and your leaping ability. You have to get up, get in there, and be physical with the bigs and the power forwards of other teams. But they're against NU, against FEU, Kai was getting out-muscled. I think he's afraid. I don't know if he's afraid of contact, but he doesn't mix it up inside. I think you have to do that. I mean, we call them an MVP candidate. He's nowhere near that. Again, lumalabas yung limitations niya of shot creation. He's not a shot creator. He needs shots to be created for him. A lot of down screens, flare screens, dunker spot points, screen and roll, curls. A lot. He's very good at that, but he can't create his own shot. And again, that showed earlier in the game against UST. And I've been pretty disappointed in these two because I think it's a very emblematic of Ateneo's inconsistencies and of their record. They're 5-6. It just shows how lacking they are in that go-to guy. Not necessarily to score, man. You don't have to score 20 points a game. You don't have to score big. But you have to be aggressive. You can't run down the shot clock to the last second and get those bad shots. They just have to look at the past Tab Baldwin teams. Dave Ildefonso last year was not an efficient go-to guy, but when needed, he would demand the ball and create a shot. No, you create a shot either for himself or for others. And to an extent, it was Portsky doing that. Look back a few seasons ago, SJ was doing that, just taking over the offense when it was going nowhere. And we have not seen that for Ateneo this year. It's just very frustrating because halata. Yung sobrang halata na hirap sila on offense because they run down the shot clock and no one just wants to make a play, just wants to take a shot. And Chris Kuhn, Kai Balungay, you guys have to be that guy for this thing. We've been saying this a long time. Yeah, so allow me to play that homer card, good sir. Just this once and say Kai Balungay and Chris Kuhn. Go ahead.
Two things. When you talk about Ateneo, Chris Kuhn, Kai Balungay, you mentioned those two guys. But actually, sa totoo lang, you can pick half of the Ateneo team. Sa totoo lang. We always talk about Gab Gomez. People mention him always in the comments. We finally got an answer by Coach Sandy Arespacochaga, which is basically just he's in the doghouse. Like, just he's not part of the main rotation. Pwede pa bang umasa na magka-comeback si Gio Chu? Pwede pa ba? Meron pa bang pag-asa?
Oh, he got a block earlier. He got a block.
So, Gio Chu, you can mention him. He was really, we mentioned he was really good nung start of nung preseason. Another guy na we talk about him a lot sa chat natin, Gab, is si Josh Lazaro. Last season, he was a crucial part of the rotation. Limited minutes, but he was good defensively. He had moments where he stopped or out-rebounded Carl Tamayo. Most of the time, he was put in front of Carl Tamayo or Zave Lucero against UP. this season, we barely see him play. So, sa totoo lang, if you want to pick Ateneo, you can pick half of the team to hope for a comeback. I also looked at it from the injury perspective or point of view. For me, two guys. Number one, Steve Nash. We talked about him in the last episode. Hopefully, he can make it. Kasi medyo tight yung schedule of return niya. But we did see him earlier today, in the game today. He was watching from the sideline. Looked okay. Looked good. Diba, some fractured face or something, but looked okay
Fractured
naman.
jaw.
Like, jaw. Okay. So, kaya pala walang bandage or anything. But looked good naman earlier. So, hopefully, he gets to come back soon and get some reps before the Final Four. Obviously, they're gonna make the Final Four. Another guy that I have to mention, one of our surprise picks, Cholo Año Nuevo. This guy has had an injury-prone UAAP career. I think first 2 seasons na injure siya or played like one game. Last season lang siya naging healthy. He came back the other game. We talked about him and he was playing earlier and then he injured his knee or something about his leg. I don't have any updates on that. Did not return. This guy just can't catch a break. We mentioned him as one of our surprise players. So I'm rooting for him, Cholo Año Nuevo. I really like his size, his skill set, and I want him to get better kasi as I mentioned in the preseason, he has potential to be like a Gilas representative in the future. He has that size. Another fan favorite, I think worth mentioning, Cyril Gonzalez. Laging nababanggit yung pangalan niya sa chat natin. I think it has to be between Gab Gomez and Cyril Gonzalez, the most mentioned player na why aren't they getting minutes? So I really liked Cyril Gonzalez last season. Quiet player,
Gab
hindi siya
Gomez, I think,
flashy.
si Gab Gomez, I think you must make question mark yung why isn't he playing. Cyril Gonzalez, I think everyone knows why he isn't playing. Because UP has so many players to play.
Ganun ka-deep yung team. That's true. Fair enough. But for me, just worth mentioning kasi lagi siyang napag-uusapan. Any other players for you? I think yun lang naman for me.
I do have one. Mark Nonoy. Listen. Okay. My fondest memory. Well, fondest and I guess most frightening memory of Mark Nonoy was him scoring 30 points on Ateneo in the finals.
30 points, yeah.
When he was still with an Alden Ayo, as a rookie in an Alden Ayo-led UST team. And I thought he was a future superstar in the UAAP. But he has not been that for LaSalle. He's been wildly inconsistent, out of control, has been relegated to a role player when I thought he would just take over the UAAP by storm. He's still blindingly fast, but doesn't seem to have that maturity in his game yet. Oh, despite being this is his last season in the UAAP. His last season in the UAAP, it has not been a good LaSalle career for Mark Nonoy.
Good pick.
He has been outshined by other guards in the rotation for every season since season 84. And this season, again, he's being outshined. The other guards are getting a lot more, are more effective than him on the floor. Well, there are times, he gets 2 threes, gets a layup, gets a steal. It's because of his speed. But there are times he's just so erratic. And it's the same story for the past 3 seasons in LaSalle for Mark Nonoy. So I'm rooting for him to get a fantastic finish to his UAAP career. I want to see that Mark Nonoy from UST. Well, just playing free, but still in control, hitting his outside shots from deep in Steph Curry range. He's not done that consistently in his Lasal career, but hopefully we get that. I hope we get the Mark Nonoy breakout game. If not in the Final Four, in the final, just to have that Mark Nonoy redemption story. Yun lang gusto ko.
Wag
So,
lang sa
Mark Nonoy,
Ateneo,
come on, man.
please. Wag lang sa Ateneo.
Wag lang sa Ateneo. Wag lang sa The semis na lang. Pagkalaban nyo yung NU or UP. Yun na lang. Pang sa Final Four. Doon ka mag 30 points.
But, Gab, ganda nung pick na yun, Gab. I just want to add to that before we end. That Mark Nonoy 30-point game, he did that against, a really stacked Ateneo team. Plus, remember, he was playing with CJ Cancino and Renz Abando and the MVP of that season, si Chabio.
Chabio.
So, it wasn't like he was playing for a bad team, diba? He was playing with a really good team. And you've seen how CJ Cancino and Renz Abando have succeeded, yung success nila in their collegiate career. Si Renz Abando nag-NCAA, was also a champion. So, if you put him juxtaposed dun sa dalawang yun, it has been a disappointing UAAP career for Mark Nonoy since leaving UST. But good pick yun. Hoping for a breakout game for Mark Nonoy. He still has the speed, though. He still has the speed. Oh, hey.
He's still fast.
That's it for today's episode. Again, sorry guys, Maui is still not with us, but don't worry, he will come back after ng Japan trip niya. Enjoy your trip, Maui, yung Coldplay concert, lahat ng mga Japanese food na kinakain mo. Pasalubong namin, wag mong kalimutan. That's it for today's episode. Comment down below answers niyo to our burning questions. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.